Joining me now is Mark Regev. He's special advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Welcome back to the program, Mark Regev. As I said, there are disputed timelines. Either the shooting was first and then the stampede, or the stampede was first and then the shooting. But the facts are the facts. There are dead and injured. I think the first question, if you could answer, is who was this aid being driven in by or for? The UN and the normal, known aid agencies said that they had nothing to do with it. Do you know who it was?
I know the following, that in order to help alleviate the food shortage in Gaza, that we authorized a convoy of, I think, some 30 trucks entered Gaza last night, headed for the northern Gaza Strip. And this shows that Israel is interested in seeing aid and foodstuffs reach the civilian population. Unfortunately, we saw a situation where there was a mass casualty tragedy, where it looked like the civilians were storming the trucks, trying to take the food out of desperation, and people, a crowd was pushing and shoving, and people were killed. I can't tell you the exact numbers. I don't, as you know, don't trust the numbers put out by the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health in Gaza. There were reports that maybe the drivers were driving over parts of the crowd. It appears to be a tragedy, but I can tell you Israel was not involved directly in any way.
When you say not involved directly in any way, what do you mean? I mean, you enabled this convoy, as you said, and your forces are there on the ground and open fire. They said it themselves. What does that mean, not involved in any way?
So this was, we allowed the aid to come in. We were involved that way. That's our policy, to allow food to go into Gaza for the civilian population. But in the incident of people storming the trucks and the way the truck drivers behaved, and people getting squashed and pressed, and apparently there being mass casualties, Israel was not there on the ground.
Okay, but they did open fire and people were killed. So I'm completely confused by what you're saying, because they admitted, the IDF spokesman said it on our air, that they opened fire.
That's a separate incident.
Okay.
Not connected to the tragedy with the trucks. That was different place, different time, right, in the general location, but not the same incident at all. And all right. I have to tell you that we are not aware that the IDF fired caused casualties at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you that a journalist who CNN works with on the ground has a different view of it, but maybe there were other incidents. That, obviously, you say is under review, and we will hope to get further clarification. But here's the thing. So Israel is the only force in charge of security, by your own announcements, by your own volition, by your own actions over the last 5 months or so there. It is, as everybody is saying, Israel's responsibility, therefore, if you let these trucks in, to provide security. And this obviously comes in the context of so little food going in that people are desperate, as we've heard from the international forces. So first, aren't you the only law enforcement people in the Gaza Strip right now?
Unfortunately, Hamas has not yet been completely destroyed, and I should have been clearer. In the first incident of the truck being swamped by civilians, there was gunfire. But it wasn't Israeli forces. There weren't Israeli forces on the trucks or around the trucks. That was Palestinian armed groups. We don't know if it was Hamas or other armed groups, but there definitely was fire. That we do know. Okay.
So my question again is, Israel is the only law enforcement operation on the ground as you wage this war. Therefore, if you allow these trucks in, who do you expect to provide the security for them? Because every convoy needs security. I mean, I've covered this from, time immemorial, back from Bosnia to Somalia and elsewhere. It all requires discipline, organization, and coordination and security. Who do you think should have been responsible for security in the convoy that you allowed in?
So it's a difficult question, and we're grappling with it, and we're talking to the international community, to the aid organizations, to the United Nations, to other partners who are relevant in this conversation, because, of course, we want to see the aid safely reach the people. Now, it's quite possible As you know, Hamas has been stealing aid. That's been documented. We've heard people in Gaza complain about this. So is it possible that that people in Gaza don't trust that this aid that the international community is giving to the people of Gaza is actually reaching the people of Gaza and not being siphoned off by the terrorists? That could be one of the reasons to explain what's going on.
Mark, I understand that is what you're telling us, but the context, again, is that you have been trying to dismantle all Hamas infrastructure over the last several months, including the police. They have been bombed into inaction, and therefore they say, and the US and others are saying, that this is causing chaos, anarchy, and a complete breakdown of civil order. So they're not there to help with any security, should they be so inclined. And secondly, and this is really important, you, Israel, according to all the UN and all the NGOs like the Norwegian Refugee Council, are preventing timely and sufficient aid from getting in, which is causing famine, starvation, hunger, desperation, and presumably can also lead to this kind of chaos around a rare aid truck. So why are you preventing the timely insertion of aid into Gaza for the humanitarian population? And let's just say the UN says it's halved since, in the last month.
So first of all, aid is going in, and this, as I said, aid went in last night. I think the problem that we're grappling with, and I'd like to tell you there's an easy answer. Aid is going in. The trouble is the internal distribution inside Gaza. And there are security challenges that we've got to grapple with more effectively, and we don't want to see a recurrence of today's terrible events. And so we have to talk to the international community and those providing the aid, how we can safeguard aid. Now, we do know that there was Palestinian fire in today's tragic incident.
Okay.
So someone on the Palestinian side was there with weapons.
Okay, that's your view. Nobody else has actually said that. You are going to have it under review, and others will probably as well. But let me play for you then Jan Egeland, the Secretary General, the head of the Norwegian Refugee Council, who basically says that trucks are still lined up at borders, there aren't enough entrance points from the Israeli Gaza side, and that so much minute checking is happening as to make these entrances really rare. This is what he said to me, and he said it's up to Israel, plus America, and to an extent Egypt, to fix this situation.
There is very little aid. There is very little supplies there to start with. So famine is breaking out there. There's no other way to describe it, which again shows that the Kani crossing, which is also from Israel, Israel could fix this. They are the occupying power. They have the overwhelming military superiority. They could have convoys going over Kani crossing, which is in the middle area from where you can easily reach the north. It's very hard from here south in Rafah and Keren Shalom.
So, Mark, ABC News reports that you are considering opening the Kani crossing, and last month the Biden administration was said to have asked you to open the Erez crossing. Is that going to happen?
So I can't announce anything before it's decided, but I can tell you that those reports are correct in that Israel wants to work with the international community to make sure the aid gets in. And I'll repeat what you've heard me say before. The people of Gaza, we don't want to harm them. We want to see them receive the aid that they require. And there are logistic issues. There are problems on the ground. I think, of course, we've got to focus on getting the aid into Gaza. Right. But as today's incident shows, we have to work to make sure that aid is effectively distributed. There's no point to have aid come into Gaza and it's just going to cause problems. So we have to do both those tasks. And we, as a government, are committed in doing so.